Where do you start, Basinonians? That is the question you have to ask. I realize this is one game of 82. It's one game. But it seems like a still point game, doesn't it? It seems like it's a still point moment of the Suns season. So I ask the question, where do you start?
Well, I will start with a very simple stat that we kept mentioning on the show yesterday. Prior to last night, the Charlotte Hornets had won one game since before Thanksgiving.
Oh, my goodness.
Not since before New Year's, not since before Christmas, not since before Boxing Day, before Thanksgiving. They had won one game, and they beat the Suns.
Oh, my goodness. This was bad. I mean, really, really bad. And other than the third quarter where it looked like the Suns were going to come out, they put up 37 points. And we all know the third quarter has been kind of an issue. It's been a problem with the Phoenix Suns. And yet they came out with that new resolve, ready to ball, and yet couldn't finish in the fourth.
I never thought we would be here with this team. I mean, you probably would have been intelligent before the season to say, look, man, they're good. You know, they won 49 games last year. That was legit. But they're probably not going to do much in the Western Conference playoffs. You could have absolutely had that thought. Wolf, they've now lost to two of the worst teams in the NBA. Two teams. And in the NBA, when you're playing a team that's one of the worst teams, they just don't ever win. They just go months without winning. They've lost to Charlotte and New Orleans this season.
Yes, so, once again, coming into this season with the roster moves, how much better was this roster? How did you feel about this roster coming in?
I thought it was a better roster, yeah.
Way better. There's no doubt about it. It was a better, more versatile roster this year than it was last year. No doubt about that.
This team started 8-1.
That's right. Coming into this season, with a point guard. Look, everybody, the Suns have a point guard. With Nurk, of course, coming in as well. Listen, this is a situation that has gotten sideways, and why is the question? It hangs in the air. Why has it gotten sideways?
This is the sort of thing that really doesn't happen in the NBA. If you take a step back and just separate the emotion from it being the Suns, okay? How often do you see a team in the NBA start 8-1 or 9-2 and then just completely fall apart? Usually the teams in the NBA that really struggle, they just aren't as talented as the other teams. There's always, 5 or 6 teams or whatever that are kind of down there in the lottery, and they're not as good. Utah's not as good as Boston. You know what I mean? Typically there are some teams that struggle the way the Suns have struggled basically since they were 9-2. They usually just aren't good. And I know there were injuries in there, and if you want to say, well, they lost to Minnesota, but they had injuries, and it was a close – okay, that's fine. They lost to Charlotte, and Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant were all playing.
Yes.
Those 3 guys alone would beat Charlotte some years.
Yes. I can't get over it. I've seen it many, many times with my own eyes. I have seen a team, Basinonians, that has players that are really, really talented, players that are really, really good. I have been in the locker room with awesome football players. I mean, guys that were incredible. O.J. Anderson was one of the most unbelievable athletes, one of the most unbelievable specimens. Google it, my young crunks. O.J. Anderson, an incredible football player. But for whatever reason, they could not consistently bring their greatness to bear. And right now, collectively, as I look at the Phoenix Suns, it reminds me of some of the great players and what was missing. What was the intangible was missing from a lot of these players? They could not bring their greatness on a consistent level, night in and night out, day in and day out, game in and game out. And right now I'm looking at a Phoenix Suns team that has no soul to me, metaphorically speaking.
This was supposed to be the stretch where you get right. You beat Philadelphia on Monday night, okay? Then you have a stretch against Charlotte, Atlanta, Utah, Charlotte, Atlanta, Washington, Detroit. That's your ramp. That's your runway to get right. Even if there's a problem, even if you don't have depth, even if maybe something's going on where, okay, we're trying to get this back on track, though it's not too late in the season to get things back on track, except when you watch them play. And now you have this stretch at I don't want to say the perfect time because nothing feels perfect right now, but like here you go. This is a stretch against 7 games against teams, a couple of which are just not good. Charlotte, Utah, and Washington. I'm not saying they don't have good players, but Charlotte's record was 7-27 going into last night. They're not as good as a lot of teams. Utah and Washington, and then Atlanta and Detroit are just kind of like hovering around 500. This is your ramp to get back right, and they go out and lose to Charlotte.
Can't believe it. Still, right now, just watching it last night, it blew my mind. The fact that the Charlotte Hornets has defeated the Phoenix Suns. I still can't get on top of what I saw last night. I still can't get on top of the fact, well, they're down by 11. Down by, or was it? No, 13 actually, going in.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at the very beginning, the Suns were up 10. I was like, oh, this is about what it should be. And then
what happened right there? Once again, it just seems like, this team again goes in these phases of not being able to play defense, not making shots, whatever it might be. But the intensity level, where is the intensity level? Where is the sense of urgency? And anytime I see a team that doesn't have the intensity level or the sense of urgency, I'm sorry right now, brothers, I'm not looking at Coach Bud. I'm not.
Well, you can't keep changing coaches. It can't keep being the coach.
Right. There you go right there. How about that? You keep changing coaches. Some pretty good coaches, of course. Frank Vogel, Coach Bud. 2 good coaches right now. What is going on inside that locker room? I guarantee if I was in there, I'd know. I'd know what's going on inside that. I don't have no idea right now. But the players inside that locker room, they know.
We're hitting games now where you can't explain them away. Granted, there was a huge chunk after they went 8-1 where they were playing without key pieces most nights.
Yeah.
But they're not now. And that's why New Year's Eve, so last Tuesday when they lost the game to Memphis, that was kind of the one I really feel like you talk about still point moments where people nationally were like, they just got Booker back. Memphis is playing without Ja Morant. The Suns need the win. Memphis, every team wants to win, but the Suns needed a win last Tuesday, and they lose. That's when
need to win.
They needed to win. That's when people nationally were starting to be like, hey, something's broken here. And then they go out and lose to Indiana. You beat Philadelphia, but then you lose to Charlotte. And again, they had Booker, Beal, and Durant playing, and Booker had 39.
Yeah. Go back to last year. I'm really upset by this, Basinonians, because again, I was talking about this all last year, and I know you're sick of it. You're tired of it. Hey, listen, their defense and their intensity level and their soul, they were kind of up and down last year, and we were talking about it. It looked like a team that needed leadership more than anything else, and we talked about this. Well, guess what? It's come to a point. I think it's come to a head. For whatever reason right now, I see a team that is void of leadership. And that breaks my heart.
Here's Devin Booker after the game. This won't make you feel any better.
Yeah, a little bit of both. They hit some tough shots. They click. They're young. They're energetic. And that's kind of the opposite of what we've been showing. Some things like that can happen, but the quicker you can snap out of it, like I said, and not try to point fingers and just get to the next play, the better.
Okay.
Charlotte played with more energy.
So, once again, not trying to point fingers.
And he's right.
And he's right about that. More urgency, more intensity, more energy. He's right about that. They did. You could actually see it. And, you can see it when you don't do it. And you have to question that. What do you think it would mean to another player if Devin Booker walked up on somebody and said, "What are you doing?" It's not
feel like
the
he's doing that.
raw stuff. It's not that. It's keeping players accountable inside a locker room right now, and I just don't think the accountability is there. I don't think it's there.
We're at the point now where, like, I heard you when you said this last year, and it was like, yeah, they need that leadership to kind of get over the hump against these. I think it's even worse now. I think there's more than just
we're
that.
Seeing it.
I don't think if I think Devin Booker probably is holding people accountable. I don't know that it matters. We'll get back into this, but if you want to talk about last year and they won 49 games, they'd have to go 33-14 the rest of the way this year. just to get to where they were last
Wow.
year.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.